I guess my first question is, what the hell happened to them? I mean, I seem like growing up, they were on every Sunday, every Friday night. You would find them. You don't really hear about them anymore.
You don't, and you're 100% right. Like, dude, me and my next door neighbor Marcos, we watched, we would. That's all we watched. We watched nothing but like blood sport and like kickboxer over and over again. And I don't know. I thought that was like definitely a thing that was going to be pervasive like through like my life was action kung fu movies. And yeah, can we blame what's the guy's name with the ponytail? Oh, I was forgetting my mom.
Steven Seagal?
Yeah, can we blame Steven Seagal for its death? I don't know.
I'm gonna kick it like Seagal when he's out for justice. Yeah, he may be the one because I remember growing up like I mean, ninjas are always cool and they're kind of still in the periphery now. But I remember growing up it was ninjas, shurikens. I think all of us had that friend whose older brother or
Yeah,
cousin or uncle had a pair of nunchucks.
definitely.
Like,
Marcos definitely had
well,
that.
there you go. See, they were a thing. Like, and then just kind of out of nowhere, they went away. And
Throwing stars, man. How many throwing stars did you have and have your mom take them away from you?
oh gosh, I remember I had one like set, so I think it was three or four, and they had red dragons painted on them. I
Sweet.
think I got them at the swap market, I
Yeah, I was gonna
believe.
say you had to get them at the swap. That's what everybody got.
And I she was at work, and I tossed one at her door because I wanted to see it stick into something. I don't know why I chose her bedroom door and not my bedroom door so I could close it and hide it. And it stuck in there, and it left.
Big
She came home
asshole.
and saw that, and she knew exactly what it was. She was so pissed. So that's how I lost one of them. Thankfully, the other three were.
Yeah.
We talk about like we knew someone who had them and stuff that we did with them. So it's not really a question of were
No.
you ever a fan, but how big of a fan were you of kung fu movies?
Oh, pretty big. I mean, just in talking about it since last week, I kind of realized that just how much I watched them growing up, and my brother and I particularly, he's a big horror movie fan, but he was also like the biggest Bruce Lee fan ever.
Right.
And like, how could you not be? I mean, he just oozes cool, and I think probably Enter the Dragon was like, I don't know, man. That's probably one of my most watched movies if I had to think about it.
Would you say that was your introduction to?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was probably Enter the Dragon or no, I think it had to have been Enter the Dragon. It was either that or Fists of Fury, but it was either one of those two because there was some others, but I watched those two over and over and over again, like in particular.
I remember. I'm glad that you mentioned Bruce Lee because I think that's one of the reasons that kung fu movies and martial arts movies may not be as popular as they were because Bruce Lee had like this mystique about him, and I know a part of that is his unfortunate death, but there was the kids knew about him, and then your older brothers or friends older they knew about it, and then their parents knew about Bruce
Yeah.
Lee. So there was this thing to where everybody knew about Bruce Lee. And as I got older, I mean, to me, it was always like, yeah, Bruce Lee was amazing. But then younger people would hear about him, but no one really took over that spot either.
No, they didn't. And I mean the closest thing I could probably say to that was, Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
Jackie Chan is probably the next big well-known specifically martial art guy that I got into. Now I did, and it's a different thing altogether. But like the John Woo early John Woo movies, there is some aspect to that. They're more gunplay obviously. But yeah, the Jackie Chan stuff, I mean, Rumble in the Bronx. Like I remember going to see that like in the theater, and then like kind of it dawning on me like, oh, this is older. It's like we're just now seeing this. I think like that wasn't a movie of that era of that year. I think right.
No, I don't think it was. No, and I remember too. I remember seeing me and a friend going to see Rumble in the Bronx in the theaters, and I remember like it wasn't the first choice. It wasn't
Sure.
somewhere along the line. Like you grow up and you love Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes
Oh
and
yeah, of course.
ninjas
Yeah.
and Bruce Lee and all that stuff. And somewhere along the line, I don't remember when, but it stopped being as cool to me. And I don't know if that's because of like 16 Candles and Breakfast Club and Revenge of the Nerds type of stuff. It's like starts
Dude,
getting
you know what? I'm just dawning on me right now. What kind of took its place for me was Mortal Kombat, like the fucking video game.
Oh, that's a good point actually too, because now not directly Mortal Kombat for me, but it seems like
Street
growing up I
Fighter.
watched a whole lot of movies, well, just video games in general, kind
Yeah.
of, because
Yeah.
then I was part of the action at that point. Whereas with like a Shaw Brothers movie, you have like your Five Deadly Venoms and
Yeah.
the 36 Chambers of Shaolin and stuff like that. Like you can watch it and then you can play afterwards, but it's not the same as getting in there and playing, Double Dragon or Bad Dudes.
Yeah, Double Dragon Shinobi. It's
Oh my
not like
gosh,
my
Shinobi, yeah.
my it's not like my love for it went away. I think it just changed. I think it just went to video games. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I've always wondered, and you're right that there's the tie-in right there. And video games, they did. Now that I'm really thinking, now see, now you opened it up that
I
can.
know there's that
Now I'm
possible.
thinking about it. They kind of marketed towards that I guess that fad, because there's Double
Yeah.
Dragon, there's Bad
Yeah.
Dudes, even the games like RoboCop involved you using your fists as much as, I mean, you have like 5 bullets, so you have to
Absolutely.
punch and stuff. And going back to Rumble in the Bronx, yeah, I remember seeing that kind of on a whim, and I was blown away.
Oh, loved it. Loved it. I actually became like I was like kind of a all right, now I'm a Jackie Chan guy after that. Like he had a bunch of them after that. I couldn't think of any of them anymore,
Yeah, he
but
has like Super Cop
well, but
and
and even like Rush Hour, like
Rush
the Rush Hour
Hour.
movies are awesome. Like they're one part, Beverly Hills Cop and one part kung fu movie, and
Yeah.
I it's kind of like a really great marriage. Well, shit, Golden Child was kind of that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, way back when, a little more on the comedy, almost
Yeah,
drama side, but
yeah,
like, yeah, you're right. Golden Child was kind of the I guess the template for Rush Hour.
right, right.
The one, and I'm so glad that you mentioned Jackie Chan and Rumble in the Bronx side. Actually, those had slipped my mind. And Jackie Chan's coming out with a new movie, Vanguard, I think is what it's called. The thing that really brought me back into it, like hardcore, was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Sure.
When I saw that, because what the first memories that I have of kung fu movies are, my mom would rent, like we would go to this, so I'm Korean, and we would go to this Korean grocery store, and they had, like grocery stores back then, they had a little section of movies, but they were all Korean movies. She
Wow.
would rent these like historical dramas that were very historically accurate, because people would be flying through the air like shooting lightning and doing karate on each
Ooh.
other like they really did in South Korea, I guess, back then.
Authentic.
We would watch those, and I didn't. I mean, they were subtitled in, because there's usually in countries where they have like a main dialect and like kind of like a sub dialect. So they were speaking Korean like from that period, and then it was subtitled in modern Korean. So I
Oh
had no
wow.
idea what was going on except for the,
Wow. Okay, interesting.
yeah, it's like watching a Chinese movie dubbed in Mandarin type of thing.
Oh man. So they're flying around shooting lightning, which immediately brings me to my next thought, which I'm sure you can. Do we call Big Trouble in Little China a kung fu movie?
You know what? That's actually a really good question. It I don't yeah, it's a very very very
Got the
thin line.
DNA.
It does. It's definitely got the, yeah, it pays homage. I would say it's a sci-fi kung fu movie.
I love that. There needs to be way more sci-fi kung fu.
Yeah, it just can't be Big Trouble in Little China and kind of Mortal Kombat.
Right, right. I would love to see not a reboot, but maybe a sequel of Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, let's get Kurt. Let's just do it. Let's go.
He's still a badass. I think he would
Totally.
still do awesome in the role. Kim Cattrall, I'm not so sure about, and
No,
unfortunately,
I'll pass on that.
yeah, they can. I'm sure they can find a workaround to
You know
that.
what? She looks great. She doesn't look
Uh,
as good as Kurt Russell though.
Hey,
So.
she was Mannequin too for a reason. We've talked lovingly of kung
Yep.
fu movies, and we have all these memories of them. What do you think was the appeal when we were kids? And part of it is because we were kids. But why do you think that appeal kind of went away as things got older? Or do you think it's strictly because the video games and lack of a replacement?
No, I think it because it became uncool for me to go outside my house and like karate chop shit in my front yard, like jump out of trees and pretend I had a sword. Like there was something about it when you were a kid. I think that's like, I mean, you never kind of lose that kind of fascination and love for it because it did make you like me personally, like it definitely made me want to run out and like hack stuff down and like pretend I was a kung fu master and a ninja. And yeah, I think, as you get older, that stuff changes. And so maybe if you don't have like a really great outlet, I'm sure some people still, went like actually did like martial arts. Like, nah, not me. Not me.
No, me neither. Like, yeah, you would hear about people signing up for karate, and then there would be that, random kid who would come to school dressed in his gi.
His gi.
But,
He'd get his ass kicked, so no one took him serious.
Let me handle him. Ostrich. Molly, he's the well-known police captain, Sharmar. You bastard, I didn't know who you were.